So Corey, thank you for sending these, and here goes my honest review. So it looks like I'm not very good with the camera, so hopefully I can splice this back together with the other one. When I switched over, lost the actual video. Sorry about that. I should hopefully be able to splice that back together, but I'm not a video editing expert by any stretch of the imagination. So if I'm not able to splice that back together, we are here on Labor Day Sunday with a Gorpion pepper, which is a ghost crossed with a Butch T Trinidad Scorpion, or at least that's the information I found. Corey didn't give me any indication otherwise, so I'm going to assume that's what this is, unless someone he knows did a separate cross of the same peppers. So nice and crunchy. You can tell by looking at the pepper that it's got medium, more thin, medium oils. Good amount of juice rolling around in there, capsaicin oils. Slightly floral. Oh, oops. Spitting out seeds without even trying to do it. Yeah, slightly, a little bit bitter, pretty floral on the front. Like a lot of super hots sometimes. There's some sweetness in there, that's for sure. It's kind of masked and hidden inside of a little bit of the bitterness, but as that bitterness from the seeds is going to subside, I can tell there's going to be a little bit of sweetness left in the mouth. Pretty quick. It's attacking the mouth like a lot of scorpions do. I always kind of refer to it as pins and needles. I can predominantly tell when someone's got scorpion in its lineage, or at least I assume for me that's what it is, based upon the way that it bites my tongue, meaning pins and needles, if that makes sense. It's like someone or something is sticking thousands of pins and needles all over the place. And when that happens, it opens up the glands that make you salivate. And I'm already salivating pretty heavily. It's not a bad thing. What I've noticed is a lot of the times when I salivate like this after eating or while I'm eating a pretty hot pepper, it actually helps bring in some of the flavors. If you're able to get past the heat and or manage the heat, and then really almost swish, it might sound kind of disgusting, but almost swish the saliva around and use that as a taste test and see what flavor's in it. Because really, that's coming through the pores and like your tongue and your mouth, so it's kind of pushing out some of the flavor that you just put in there with whatever pot it was. So an enjoyable cross between a ghost and a scorpion. You can definitely, even if I didn't know that that's what it was, I would have guessed that it had some ghost and some scorpion in the lineage. They just, especially the ghost, it's got a flavor that you just know what's in it. Ghosts have a pretty unique identifier, some markers that just let you know that it's ghost. Scorpion, for me, sometimes I've known it, sometimes I haven't, but for me, I can tell by the way something actually physically interacts with my mouth, like the way this is, across the tongue, across the width, front and back, biting heat to it. I'm surprised. So far, it's mainly staying on the tongue. It's going back into the throat a little bit, but only a little bit. It is kicking off A little bit of sweat on the forehead. You can see that glistening. That's partially the sun, partially the sweat. It's got an interesting combination between the ghost and the scorpion burn to the tongue. So it's a hot pepper. I mean, really hot. But honestly, Corey, this is on the low end of super hot. I've had a couple other peppers this season, a couple last season, that I would classify as super hot. So I'm gonna put these in a comparison, and I won't say that this is super hot, but I will say that by comparison to other peppers I've had, this is a hot pepper. But Reaper Cross that came out of my garden this season, that me and some people are thinking maybe it's a California Reaper, so a Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion times a Reaper. That, a Leviathan Scorpion that showed up from a gentleman this week. The Death Spiral that I grew. Several different Morugas and several different Reapers are all, I'm going to put those in front or on top of these. These are darn good peppers with a great flavor, good amount of heat, but a very manageable heat. I'd say low end super hot, high end really, really hot. Probably low end super hot. Darn good pepper. It's going to have a burn. I can tell that it's going to burn for a little while, but it's already crescendoed. It's already peaked. There's no more heat that it has to offer. It made me sweat. It's biting my tongue, but it's already subsiding, and it didn't go anywhere else, and it did not give me a ear fire. A lot of times, anyone that's watched some of my other videos, something that's really, really hot will make my ears sting or ring, and I say that it gives me a 2 to 3 or 4 alarm ear fire. A yellow Moruga did that 2 years ago on Christmas Eve. Yellow Moruga that a gentleman sent me, it crippled me. Had me on the stomach a half an hour later in a ball, like in the fetal position, because of the cab cramps came in that quick. This one's going to be completely manageable. Good amount of saliva, good amount of heat. If I were to use a scale from 0 to 10, I'd put this at 6.5 to 7.5, somewhere in that range. It's hot, don't get me wrong, but I'm only comparing this to other peppers that I've had that I would put on a scale somewhere in that. Someone recently, last weekend, I did a review of a Reaper times a Dave Miner Bootla, and it was a perfect cross between the chocolate Bootla, and I had the shape of that and the pimples of that and the red color of the Reaper. I ate that. That one almost put me in panic mode. The Reaper cross that I'm thinking was a Cali Reaper did basically take me to panic mode, but I was able to ride it out right there at that panic level and not get panicked because I knew that it wasn't climbing anymore. So this pepper, while it's good, it's hot. It's probably more flavorful than those two that I just mentioned. And the heat's it's close to those, but only close. I wouldn't say that it has surpassed some of those other peppers that I've recently had the pleasure of eating or reviewing. And you can check out those reviews on my YouTube channel as well. Excuse me for the burp. I was actually thinking I might get some hiccups, man. I see all these people do reviews and their bodies respond by hiccups. I never get hiccups. I've always thought it a curious thing because I watch these people and all of a sudden, like within like instantaneous or like a minute later, all of a sudden they're sitting there hiccuping. It doesn't happen to me. My body doesn't respond that way. My body responds by sweating quite a bit. That's my major body response, salivating and sweating. So, Corey, this is a great pepper. I appreciate you sending these to me. These others that I have left will probably find their way into a smoked powder that I'm getting ready to do. I was going to do an all red applewood smoked powder. These are going to find their way in there. So, see, there's lots of guys down in Florida that are growing some awesome peppers. Corey's another one of them. It's a darn good pepper, Corey. Thanks for sharing it with me. If I have something that I think you might like, I'll send it back to you, or some powder or something else. Because now that I'm saying that, I'm thinking that you mentioned that you don't like the super duper hots, so I am actually working on a intermediate sauce that I can actually share with friends and family, because I'm obviously a little bit over the top. So thanks for sharing this with me. Hope everyone has a incredible continuation of their 2018 Labor Day weekend. Pepper on. Take care, everybody. We'll do it again soon.